Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video we are obviously going over the AMA that took place today on Reddit. So if you guys missed, we had some developers who sat down on Reddit and you basically just had an AMA. So there were a lot of details that were confirmed, there were a lot of details that were shown off to us, and what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to condense all of that and give it to you in a more presentable format. Unless you mind my annoying voice, in which case I will also link the AMA down in the comments below. That being said though, let's do the usual YouTube thing, like, subscribe, all that. I'm not going to waste your time much. Let's get on with it. But first I would like to clear something. I think I gave off a wrong message to people. Now, I said, and I think it was in the comments of my previous video, that I think that this is just a cash grab, and I think Ubisoft is just using this to lure a few of the older fans in so that they can get one last bit of money out of them before they move on again to the boring, empty RPGs. Again, this is my opinion, so please stay civil. So yeah, that was that. And while my intention was to say that, yeah, this is a cash grab, that wasn't aimed at the developers. That was aimed at Ubisoft, the publisher. I really want to make this distinction very clear, because the developers in this case, if you have read this AMA, or if you have in general read any of the interaction that we have had about this game, the developers actually want to make an Assassin's Creed game. They are doing their best with what they have, and for that they have my respect. Like, there are a few things that I'm going to talk about, and while yes, it is disappointing that these things are not in the game, I never really expected them to be because of the availability of these resources to a team like this. Like, you cannot, anyway, I'll get into that when I get into that. But my point is, this is on Ubisoft, the publisher. They are treating it as a side project, and so that's on them. That's not on the developers. Anyway, let's just get on with the actual meat of the video. So right in the first question, of course, Leo K wrote an entire fucking essay. So I'm not going to go through entirely everything. I'm just going to sort of condense some of the similar sort of questions, and I'm going to just sort of summarize what was said. So of course, the first question was around the lines of, is there any chance we'll get quest replay or mission replay, or essentially a new game plus? I think someone way down in the thread also asked about a new game plus, and the response was the same. So will we get that? And the response to that was that no, there is no DLC or post-launch updates being planned for Mirage. Now obviously I think some bug fixes are in order. It is a reality that we live in, and also it's a reality that is going to happen. Bugs are a thing that will happen. It's a good thing that now we have internet and now it's easier to solve these bugs, but bugs are a reality of game development. In fact, bugs are a reality of any software development, and anyone in any capacity who has ever developed software will tell you that as well. So yeah, I'm expecting bug fixes, but I'm not expecting any changes in gameplay or things like that, or any meaningful features being added after the game is released. And you have to consider that this game started off as a DLC, and they even say that down in the thread, that this started off merely weeks after they decided, yeah, we are going to just make this an entire standalone game. But it started off as a DLC for Valhalla, so it is understandable that it is shackled by what Valhalla is, and we cannot go past that. So yeah, no DLCs because it already kind of is a DLC. Also, another thing that Leo K mentioned was the quick save feature, which we saw in the recent screenshots, and also how reliable will this be, and the response to that was they are still working on it. They are still trying to debug issues that they have, which is normal because the game is coming out in October. We are in, wait, what month is this? We are in what, July? So yeah, it makes sense that they're still working on it. Maybe it will be a day one patch or something. So yeah, it's good that they're working on it. No, it's not finalized yet. So there are a few things that are being worked on still, and I'm going to get to those later as well. So yeah, it's there. They are trying to make it because the game leans harder on stealth. So that's a good thing. Now, of course, the big burning question in the room was, are ejects available? So, and the response to that, and I'm going to say this verbatim because this is very interesting. The response that they gave was very interesting. So I'm going to say this, I'm going to say the entire paragraph. I'm going to show this on the screen as well. So, quote, For parkour, we are focusing on fluidity and control and building our own thing, taking inspiration for several Assassin's Creeds. Back ejects and side ejects, as in the pre-Assassin's Creed 3 games, are not part of our parkour system, but we put a lot of efforts working on small details to make sure players have the best control on basim. We are still fine-tuning parkour to reinforce more this control and the feeling of fluidity and agility when traversing Baghdad. Now, this is where we go away from the condensing, and this is something that I want to add something because I found it really odd. Now, this specifically said that the back ejects and side ejects as the pre-Assassin's Creed 3 game, so Revelations and below. I find it interesting because Assassin's Creed 3 also has ejects, as does Black Flag and Rogue, and to some extent, for all intents and purposes, even Unity. Now functionally, it is somewhat different. Like, Unity is the only one that is really different. And I'm going to go into a lot more detail about what I'm actually talking about in an upcoming video where I compare the parkour across all the Assassin's Creed games. So I'm going to go into more detail then. But what I can say right now is that Assassin's Creed 3 is not as different from the Ezio trilogy or AC1 as people are led to believe. It's actually very similar with some minor inconveniences. So again, I'll go more detailed into that in a later video, so stay tuned for that, I guess. So that's what I found a little bit odd, but they say that they're working on it. And the one thing I'm going to say is, again, this is what I expected, because this started off as a DLC for Valhalla, expecting them to have an entirely new parkour system. And yes, it has to be built entirely from scratch. If you want to have like the older style of back ejects and side ejects, you have to develop things from scratch now, because you sure as hell can't use animations from that era. Maybe from AC3, but again, I wouldn't know how they would port it over, how it would fit into the game, how it would fit into the design of the game, the way they are designing it. I don't know any of these things. I'm not involved in this process, so I don't know what considerations were taken in while they were developing this, but this is my expectation. I did not expect side ejects to be in the game, and it's now confirmation that it's not in the game. It is disappointing, yes, because the level design certainly, screams that a side eject would be a really nice way to do things, but I understand why it's not in there. So, but they still said that they are trying a few other things to mitigate that, and I'm interested to see what those things are. That's all I'm going to say now. But the thing that they're trying to do is at least keep it more fluid and controllable, which is good, which is a good thing. Let's see how successful they are with their implementation of it. Now, another question that Leo K had, of course, was that can a player activate assassin focus in any state, like walking, jumping, running on a wall, etc. The response to this wasn't very definitive, because they said that you can only activate the assassin focus outside of a conflict. But that was not the question. The question was, can we do it while walking or jumping or while we are hanging on a wall? Which would genuinely be a question, because maybe, like, coming from me, like, if you have been on my channel for long enough, you know that I do sometimes make stealth runs. And if this is a tool that we are supposed to use, and this is a genuine tool in our arsenal, then of course having assassin's focus being triggerable while we are maybe hanging from a wall or running, that would be useful. But we actually do not have an answer for this, so that's why I'm not going to say much. Now, I'm going to combine two questions here, one that Leo K asked, one that someone else asked down there. So, is there a chance of Assassin's Creed focus being visually retouched? Which is what Leo K asked. Now, the another question that I'm going to sort of combine with this is that how does Assassin focus actually, it looks and all that stuff? And the answer to both is that it's still a work in progress. They will still improve some visual details. I don't think they're going to change much about this because it feels finished enough to me. Maybe a few VFX things here and there. Now, do I like this ability? From the top, like looking at it, I don't like this ability at all. I feel like this is supernatural. And another thing that I wanted to sort of add in there is that it was also said that it's because it is so fast, like Basim is so fast that the animus cannot keep up with him, and that's why it sort of presents itself as a glitch. which of course brings me to the point where Animus glitches in 2023, really Ubisoft, really Mr. Bodon, because that's like the biggest crutch that any AC developer has had so far. You want something weird in the game? Oh, it's just an Animus glitch, or it's just an Animus thing. Like, how does Edward wear Connor's armor? Oh, it's just Animus glitch and all that. And also, why is Unity so broken? That was some Animus glitches. I'm not kidding. That's actually what someone once said. So yeah, that's the part where it's kind of but okay, fine. So yeah, the work is still being done on the game. That's the important part. Now another thing, of course, is, someone asked, like, Basim didn't have an eagle in Valhalla. So what happens to the eagle? Well, they said that, yeah, it's part of the narrative. So we probably get a dead eagle at some point. And so I don't know how to say that, but probably one of the archers will just shoot the eagle and it dies. I don't know. So so moving on, and another big question, this came from 6keys, and that was more about the skill trees. So the question was essentially, how does the skill tree work, and is our abilities locked based on what was unlocked before? And to that was that the reply to that was that yeah, they're still working on the skill tree, it's still being tweaked now, but they did confirm that the skills are dependent on each other, so that if there is a path, you have to still follow that path. So for a skill, say, which is third or fourth in a particular part, you need to get those 3 skills before you get the 4th one, which I guess would make sense for the particular skills that they were talking about. Now, they did say that you can unequip most skills except the one concerning an additional tool we newly added. So there is a new tool that we don't know about that they apparently added just now, and the skills regarding that tool cannot be unequipped. Now, I don't know what that is, and I'm not going to speculate on that, but that's something you should know. Now, another thing, they said that armor/outfit cannot be unequipped, but you can override them visually with a costume, to which I again have a serious doubt. The doubt being, somewhere later in the thread, they mentions that outfits go over costumes, not the other way around. And say that, and it was even said that costumes are necessary for story missions to infiltrate locations. So it's kind of like Hitman, where you can just wear someone's outfit and then you can blend in using that outfit, which, by the way, I fucking love it. Please, like, why hasn't this been a thing in Assassin's Creed? Like, we had that in, like, Liberations. How is this not a feature in mainline Assassin's Creed games yet? Like, it's a good thing that we are finally getting that. So that's excellent. And another thing that 6keys asked is about, social stealth. And they did say that you can just blend in with any civilians as long as there are 3 people in Basim's vicinity. So kind of like Assassin's Creed 3 and also like AC2. Kind of like AC2, but they also said that patrolling civilians will also be blendable. So if there are people walking, you don't need to toggle anything, you can just walk with them, or maybe toggle a button, I don't know. They said that you can trigger patrol blending as well, so I'm assuming it's in the game. Now moving on to some other questions, and these are also important questions. Now we come back to the tools. Now, of course, one of the questions was, outside the 6 tools, are there more? And the reply to that was, each tool will have 3 tiers. Each of the 5 tools will have 3 tiers. Only the torch is not upgradable. And each tier will allow you to choose a new modifier. So now they said that the smoke bomb can be turned into a healing vapor, refilling Basim's health. And I find that very interesting because it's very weird, like bombs to refill our health, but if it's area effect bombs, why does it only refill us and not the enemies? I'm assuming it doesn't refill the enemies, because then that would be fucking stupid. So I don't know how that will work. It's very definitely interesting. Another thing that they talked about kind of as an upgrade was, throwing knives can be charged to deal more damage. Now I already know a lot of people are going to see this and like, oh, we can't do headshots anymore again. Like, I still think we can probably do the headshots, and probably still have one-shot takedowns for guards with our knives. I don't think that's going to be the problem because that's how it worked in Syndicate as well. In Syndicate, you can upgrade your knives for more damage. So maybe the damage is for the body shots. Like maybe in the third tier of throwing knives, simply just throwing a knife right at the guard, even if it hits the torso, maybe something like a quick throw will still kill them. So maybe that's a thing. So again, I don't know, this is speculation, but that's what I got from this. Sorry for this small interruption. The one thing I actually forgot to mention is that, remember how I said that, the tools will be upgradable and there will be branching upgrades, like you can go to different levels of tools and select a perk. Well, not only can you do that, you can also roll it back. Now, if you don't know why that is important to me, and for Assassin's Creed fans like stealth people in general, you probably didn't play the Wrath of the Druids DLC, and even if you did, you probably didn't use or upgrade the smoke arrow. Because if you do upgrade the smoke arrow, it loses all of its functionality and you couldn't take it back. So to this day, I actually haven't completed the DLC in its entirety because there is that one ability that is left, that one book of knowledge that is left that I'm never going to claim, because why on earth would I? Because I really would much rather have the smoke arrow than have a dumb interpretation of it. Now another question was, exploration wise, is it similar to Valhalla and what else can we find here? And what they said was, yeah, it is essentially similar to Valhalla, but there will be some other things like pickpocketing contracts or roaming targets. Also, they also confirmed that these contracts are handcrafted. These are actual targets that are in the world that you need to kill, but these are not randomly generated. They are actually narratively crafted. Now, how well they are crafted, I can't tell you, but they are crafted. They are made for the game. Another question that was asked was, of course, after the prologue, how much freedom do we have in terms of exploration? Like, how can we go into the different districts and stuff? And is there any restriction about levels or powers? And the answer to that is no, there are no restrictions. Once the first target is done, you are free to investigate in any of the other 3 bureaus in Baghdad. Now, yeah, one more thing is that, yeah, photo mode is back, and which, why would they remove that? Photo mode was already there in Valhalla. I am assuming it's fairly easy to implement because it already exists. I don't think they need to change anything about it. Now, someone asked, what do talismans do? The talismans are there. Do we got talismans? Talismans? I don't know how to pronounce this word. So I'm just gonna say doodads. So what are these things? Do they have any gameplay benefit? No, they are just cosmetic. Now, another thing that this person asked was, of course, something that we tackled before. What are disguises and stuff? And that's what they said, and that's what is consuming me. Is it outfits over costumes, or is it costumes over outfits? Anyway, we don't care. It is one or the other. We'll find out when we get the game. Now, the third question that he asked, and of course, they didn't answer this, but I kind of want to answer this. Will we get any lore explanations that begin to explain the name change from the Hidden Ones to the Assassins? Now, we know where the Assassins got their name from, Hashashins. I mean, those who smoke hash, right? I think that's the thing, and they internalized it and sort of became that. And the whole point was, oh, you want to basically insult us by saying these things? No, we are just going to roll with it. That's how that came to be. And so I don't think it really needs an explanation. We already know Hidden Ones are philosophically very similar to the Assassins, and at some point I'm assuming this was a thing. Maybe the Templars came after them and started spreading these things. I guess, if not Templars, maybe the Order of the Ancients did that, and they switched their names and became the Assassins. So I'm assuming that's how they got this. Anyway, so let's move past that. So a few other things that I wanted to say before I can wrap up the video in its entirety is that few other things were confirmed. So each district will have a bureau. We already knew this. The hood cannot be toggled, which, thank you for understanding what Assassin's Creed is all about. Assassins aren't supposed to take their hood off. We only see Altair without his hood for once in the entire series. So I actually do like that part. But what I don't like is they did confirm no modern day in this game. Now, we already again knew that, but they did say that there will be context, and I think I already know what the context is, and if you have played Valhalla in its entirety, you know what the context is too. So, spoilers for Valhalla, but at the end of Valhalla, we obviously see that William Miles contacts Basim and he asks for a DNA sample. That's because he wants to know what kind of a man Basim is, and not to have a shameless plug in between a video, but that is also something I am making a video about. And actually the video is not entirely exactly about that, it's about Cassandra and her role in this entire franchise. Spoiler alert, the role is not being an assassin. So it's about that, but it's integrally linked to what Basim is doing. Anyway, I'm not going to get into more details about that. So yeah, no modern day. They will give us the context about something I guess we already do know. But one thing they did confirm is that, yeah, there's going to be a lot of Isu stuff, which makes sense because, again, spoilers for Valhalla, Basim is a reincarnation of Loki. So if you, for some reason, didn't already know that, I guess you're not going to play Valhalla anyway, and so don't care about it. So anyway, moving on. So he's a literally reincarnation of an Isu, so Isu stuff is all of course in the game. So yeah, that brings about the end of this video. So yeah, do let me know what you're excited about. So my position for this game is still not changed. I do believe the devs are trying their best, but I also do believe this is not a back to the roots experience, and that's not through any fault of the developers. That's again on Ubisoft. If Ubisoft wants to make a back to the roots experience, they would have made it. They wouldn't have shackled them making a DLC for Valhalla. And they definitely would have given them more resources. Like, yes, you can implement a proper parkour system in this, but it is very clear that they simply did not have the time or the resources to do this. And so this is on Ubisoft. My anger is very much aimed at Ubisoft. My frustrations are very much aimed at Ubisoft. Now it could be that Ubisoft is simply testing the waters and they want to see that if people are still interested in this sort of a game, and maybe if Mirage sells well, they will have these low budget games and maybe they will make an actual parkour system but use it across these games. Have a more standardized parkour system that they can use in all of the games, kind of like how Ubisoft does the water. And maybe that's how they will continue making these smaller experiences and have them inside this Infinity platform. I don't know if that will work, but maybe. So anyway, that's all for the video now. And again, as usual, like, subscribe, all that stuff. And all that said, I will leave you guys very tired, but in peace.